Welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. You already know I am so excited that you're tuned in today to this podcast. And if this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or a season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help, and they do share authentically. Well, y'all, this is the second episode of the marriage series, so I am super excited that you're tuned in today. And another reason why I'm super excited is because this episode features family. Yes, it's always a delight when I can have family on the podcast, and you can just get a little bit of insight into who my family is, right? And so this episode actually features my husband's sister, Camille, and her husband, Jared. Yes, she married someone named Jared as well, which is crazy, right? Anyway, the title of this episode is Having the Right Church Matters in Marriage. Yes. Woo. This is going to be a loaded episode, and I am so excited again that you're going to listen to what they will share, because they dropped some nuggets of wisdom, y'all. And this is part 1 of episode 29. And again, bro, sis, thank y'all so much for taking time out of your super busy schedules to just be on this podcast and share a bit of your story. And for those of you who don't know this bit of information, my bro, my sis, they moved all the way from Houston, Texas to Omaha, Nebraska because of their church. All right. Their church home is in Nebraska. They made the move, y'all. And so this again shows you how important church is to them, and really should be to all of us who are married, and just all of us as believers, right? So without further ado, y'all, here it is. I want you to enjoy and be blessed. I have my brother in love and my sister in love, and they are none other than Mr. Jared Garner and Mrs. Camille Garner. What's up, y'all?
Hi, sir.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
honored. I mean, we finally made the podcast.
Hilarious.
On the other side.
I mean, pushing, but
behind the scenes. Yeah.
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, y'all already know I'm so glad that y'all are on. It's always good to have family on. And y'all just celebrated an anniversary, which was it yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days ago, right?
2 days ago.
Yes. 9 years.
Yes, 9 years. So happy anniversary, y'all, once again. It's such a blessing. Y'all already know marriages don't make it to 9 years, so it's a blessing.
Yes.
Yes. So, well, before we hop into the questions, I want you both to just introduce yourselves and just tell a little bit about who you are.
Sure. So, Jared, originally from Texas, and we just celebrated 9 years. We have 3 amazing children, and home life is very demanding, so it takes up a lot of our energy, a lot of our time, and waking hours. But we're both very passionate about family. That was one of the things that really attracted me to Camille, is that family was so important to her, and we have a good time all the time. So
absolutely,
we try to play that, try to find a balancing act as much as possible. Every day is an adventure. But a little bit about me: I've been in sales for about 12 to 13 years, and but my background is in hotel restaurant management, which is how we met. So a little bit about me. Love sports, go Astros, and
go Orioles right now. I mean, I'm just saying.
Y'all doing it right now. So, then I'm cool for you guys.
Good stuff. What about you, Camille? Don't try to I see you with the OU cup and everything, but
Oklahoma girl. My background, I work in human resources. I don't know if I've ever not worked. I've done restaurants, but it's always been hospitality. And I think it has a lot to do with just my human nature to want to serve, to want to serve people, and that's pretty much everything and anything that I do is just from a position or posture of service. So, between him and I together, we make a great team in that aspect. But yeah, 3 amazing kids, very supportive family,
Mhm.
crazy brothers. You're married to one, so I could apologize again, but you know, it's 10 years, you know, so. But love all my siblings. My sister in Atlanta, my brother in Fort Worth, my other brother in Baltimore, and you know, now you and you know, Uncle Phil. So family is just is important, and anytime that we can create a memory,
Mhm.
you know, one of the things that I learned very early was not to give your kids what you didn't have, but to teach them what you didn't know.
Mm.
Um, and so if we could do that and create memories, you know, that to me is a win-win recipe. So yeah.
Mhm. Good stuff. I love it. Well, we are going to hop into the questions. My first question for y'all is how and when did you meet?
Since I don't tell the story right, I'm, you know, I'll tell you my part. So we were at a conference in North Carolina. So we were both hotel restaurant management majors, hospitality
Mhm.
management majors. And so we were at a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were both a part of the same organization, NSMH, which stands for the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality.
Mhm.
So I was a freshman or sophomore. I was an undergrad, and Camille was either a sophomore or junior. So she, this is going to sound corny, but I don't know. It was something. I saw her and I just observed her for a while, and I just was like, wow, that young woman is. There's something different about her. So it was beyond just a physical attraction.
Mhm.
It was. I'm serious. I'm serious. Anyway.
Let him talk, Camille.
So yeah, so I observed her for a little while, and I made my way over to her to introduce myself, and there was no spark. It was like it was just like, who was this little kid? Like I don't know, I'm afraid with her a little bit, but the seed had been sown. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But I was shooting out. She was very focused at the
Mhm.
conference. It was about networking and getting internships. But there was also a fun side of the conference, which
Putting
you
it
know,
nice. Putting it nice.
yeah, your kids are gonna see this. Your kids gonna see this one day.
That's nice.
So yes, but I was trying to get the digits. I was
Mhm.
like, what's up? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
She didn't give me no number. She didn't give me.
Daniel, you're laughing because your story is very similar, ma'am.
It is. It
It
is.
it was like just okay, it's nice to meet you, and I'm going on to the next thing, and that was it. So
Yeah.
that's what happened. That's my
Yes.
point of view.
Okay.
That was good. I've heard several variations of the story over the years, so I'm glad that you decided to stick to the truth. So, no, I mean, Morgan State just really provided so many different avenues, and going to an HBCU, I was very proud of that. And NSMH provided opportunities for networking and building your career and sitting in the same room with CEOs and vice presidents, Hiltons and Hyatts and Marriotts and all those. I mean, this was a phenomenal experience. And this little Oklahoma girl, first time on the East Coast, first time in Charlotte, right?
Mhm.
And they literally they drill you. Like there's months and months of preparation for this. So there's like how to interview, how to shake hands, how to drink your coffee, how to, signal to the server that you're not drinking coffee. Like there was just a lot of emphasis on professionalism, right?
Mhm.
And so I drink it. Like I drink all that Kool-Aid. And so when I was there, it was like they're watching you. Everybody's going to be watching you. So you got to be
You were focused.
like I was very focused. I was like, you know what? This is going to land me my internship, which is going to land me my job. So by the time everybody is going into their last semester of the senior year, I'm already going to have job up. Like that was the goal. Plus, there was an opportunity to really look at the current board and then decide if he wanted to run for an office for the organization or even at the chapter level. And so my eyes were on the chapter level. So there was no time for foolery. So as everybody was on one. So I was like, you know what? I got stuff to do. I'm focused about this job and so yeah.
So at what point, because you didn't get the digits that night, Jared. So at what point did y'all meet up again and maybe there was some type of spark or connection?
Nope. I got this. Sorry, I got this.
He got close to the camera.
I gave him an email address. Okay. I gave him an email address.
It was very similar to my story.
It was my school email address on top of that. It wasn't even like...
It wasn't the Morgan State email address.
It was, shout out to Morgan State. Shout out to Mr. Gwynn. I was part of the academic enrichment program. So Elder Quasey knows all about, that's where I actually met him, was enrichment program. And we were both tutors. And that was the email address that I gave. I didn't want to be and just, you can't. So I was like, you know what? I'm at a conference. I want to be professional. So yes, I have my email address. But it wasn't until, because I saw him again, because the 2 or 3 years after that, I had come back as a recruiter. That's kind of like a dream job to do, was to come back as a recruiter.
So funny. Okay.
Because I came back as a recruiter.
Okay.
Jared was different. Jared was real different. Jared was on the national board, and I had graduated, and so he was on a different track in life, and I was on a different track in life. And so, it was one of those, again, networking, like, good to see you again. Let's keep it kind of thing. Is that? Thank you. Okay. So, so I saw him, when that's kind of every NSMH alum, you want to go back and recruit. So went back, recruited. It was his senior year. He was actually on the national board. I came back as a recruiter. Again, good to see you. Let's catch up. It's kind of like the Hollywood talk, right? Like, oh yeah, we should get up. Yeah, okay. And then it wasn't until 2000.
7 years later.
Are you serious?
7
Was
years
it really?
Later.
So 7 years from the first time you tried to get her number?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was 2000. So
when he says it out loud, it sounds bad.
So we met in 2005,
yes.
And I didn't get the number until 2012.
12, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was always, it was like pleasantries in passing. Like, we were friends on Facebook. This is back when Facebook was like only college students. Yeah.
So, and I was very late getting to the Facebook. Like I was very private. I didn't want my business pictures out there. So I was very late to the Facebook game. And still not to this day. So, so yeah, we had connected on, I don't even know how, but it was a DM on Facebook, and it was one of those, hey, what's going on? And he was at like a singles event for the church that he was at in Houston. And at that time I was in Los Angeles, lots of traveling for work. So I was in, he was in Houston. But hey, let's get up tomorrow. Let's talk. So Saturday happened.
Yeah, she finally texted me. And I don't know how she got my number.
I was just wondering.
I'm like,
I thought it was on Facebook. We shared numbers on Facebook.
No, we didn't share numbers. I might have given you my number.
That's what I mean. But it was a prior text message. Well, on Facebook.
Yeah. So it didn't like. You get a random number, like it was like, hey, what's up? I'm like,
right.
It was green. So I'm like, I'm rocking with this person. You know what I'm saying? All my iPhone users know what I'm talking about.
Clearly, because I don't know. I just assume, but go ahead.
The text was green when his iPhone is blue. So it was just like, hey, what's up? I'm like, like, what's up? So I'm trying to figure it out. And she was like, it's,
Y'all know he knew who it was. Y'all know he knew, but it's okay.
Then she was like, it's Camille Perry. She was like, it's Camille. I was like, Camille Perry? No. So then we start texting back and forth.
A lot of text messages.
It was a lot of text messages.
A lot of text messages.
Yeah, and then we finally talked on the phone, and that was a 3-hour conversation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Neither of us like to be on the phone. So to be on the phone for 3 hours, it was like, this is interesting.
Maybe there's something that...
The time difference was also a factor, also, right? Because I'm in LA, he's in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how we finally connected.
So 7 years later, y'all finally connected. Y'all had a 3-hour long conversation. So at what point was it becoming serious? And Jared, did you know early on that, and I'll ask you too, Camille, but did you know early on that this, I want her to be my wife? Talk about that.
I knew that I did. Yeah, I knew I wanted to marry her. I knew that I wanted to, like, this wasn't going to be like no play. And I was at a point where I was serious about my walk with the Lord, and I wasn't like trying to be like player, in the streets, like, just I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be serious with my walk, and like at that time, I was really content and I was focused. It was really just me and God. Like I was, I was in ministry. I was pretty heavily involved in ministry. I was in seminary school at the time, and so I was really good just then. It was a desire, but it wasn't something I was just like actively pursuing. But I think I had in my mind what it is that I was looking for. Or not looking for, but what it is that I desire to have and what I needed in a wife. So, that first conversation, then the second, the day after that, we talked like 2.5 hours. It was just
after
like,
that, it was like back-to-back days
like,
of
that became the norm.
3-hour conversation.
Yeah.
So, and this was the like distance. So I had said at that time that I wasn't doing any more long distance relationships. So, but the more that I got to know her, and it was like, I don't know if there was a moment that I was like, oh, I've fallen in love, because that just wasn't what I was on. It was. I think it was based on knowledge, and and at the time I was hanging out with a lot of married guys, and so I would ask like, hey, what do you look for? When did you know? What attract outside of the physical beauty? Like, what was that you said? Okay, you know what? This is the woman that I'm choosing above everybody and everybody else. And so when I started to hear those things, and when the more I would talk, I was like, you know what? This is going to be for real.
What about you, Camille? Did you start to see this? He's husband material.
So I had gotten out of a long relationship, and I was not looking for another relationship. And just for my single women, enjoy that single time, because there's something about that intimacy that you can have with God while you're single that really almost solidifies that foundation for your spiritual growth, for your spiritual strength, like for the channel between you and him to be clear. Like I was enjoying that. Like there was just so much fresh revelation coming off the scriptures. I was really involved in church, and I would look funny. I would look forward to going to Bible studies, and I went to Amazing Church out in Pasadena, and it was a hike. Oh my God, it was such a hike. It was LA traffic is already bad as well. So when you're you're talking about hour and a half, I was hour and a half in traffic going to church
On the church,
for an hour and a half, only to come back through traffic for an hour. Like, it was that serious. And I was not looking for another relationship. I was really focused on my personal relationship with God and that process of restoration and all of that. And I think when Jared came, it was really interesting because it was like, okay, God, I really am not interested at this point, because also I was going through transition at my job. Like, I was in the process of relocating back out to Baltimore at the time. So there was so much going on. It was like, okay, this is going to be a good friend. Like, he's cool, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing too that I was praying for, because I did desire to be married, because I did desire to have a family, and so my prayer to God was like, God, I don't want to have to explain my spirituality to whomever this next one is. Like, I don't want to. I want the scriptures to leap off the page for him as it does for me. Like, so there were specific prayers. But there was a time in April, I'll never forget it. I was really seeking God on my next career move and solidifying that decision to move all the way back out east. Because I had already made that move 5 years, 6 years prior to move to San Francisco. Like, there was so much. And then I was like, okay, God, why are you having me go back to Baltimore? So I called Jared and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be on the phone for about a week, 2 weeks, because I'm going on a fast. So I'll just hit you up later. And I didn't really expect him to understand. I didn't expect him to understand just because of the background that he had. We had very different upbringings, you know, as far as church goes, right? I went to Higher Dimensions Family Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who really kind of was the jumpstart for everybody that you see today. I don't care what anybody says. Bishop Carlton Pearson did that. Sorry, I'm not sorry. He did that. So when you grow up listening to and physically being in the same room with Dr. Miles Monroe and Casey Tree and Oral Roberts and all names, right? T.D. Jakes before Bishop T.D. Jakes was Bishop T.D. Jakes. Like, growing up and you see that, and then Jared is Baptist, and I'm like, oh dear God, like, that ain't even the whole story. Like, that's just a very small part of the story. So it was tough. And so my prayer to God was real. Like, I don't want to explain my spirituality. I don't want to explain to him what fasting is. Like, I'm not doing it. And I'll never forget. And he was like, okay, cool. So he calls me back maybe about an hour later or so. He was, it might have even been on a Sunday. He was serving 3 services or whatever and calls me back. And he said, well, I know that you're about to go on a fast. Can I just pray, cover you while you're on your fast? And I was like, you know, I was expecting to, like, okay, so this is what fasting is. And
right.
Fasting's like, I was expecting that just because of the background, right? Just okay, I already know this is going to be different. So that was my aha moment. Like, okay, possibly be dating material, because if he can pick up and sense how serious this fast is for me, and this trip for me is, and offer to pray, and then give me the space to be able to do that. Yeah, you might be all right. That was my aha.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up Baptist too, Jared.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. What do that.
Yeah, I grew up Baptist too. Yeah, and then it wasn't until I got to college that I started attending my current church, which is non-denominational.
That's in a water child.
Yeah, and I remember, like, it was different. I was like, there's There's no program. There's no, some of the rituals and traditions that, the Baptist church has. And there's no shade to the Baptist denomination.
No.
It's no shade. It's just, there are things that, and maybe it's not all Baptist churches, but there are things that a lot of them do that may not either be completely biblically based, or they just aren't quite aware. They may not have certain knowledge of certain things that, like fasting, which is what you were concerned about, Camille. So you guys are now at a place where you're realizing like this is serious. So how long did you actually date before becoming engaged?
I don't know why you're laughing, but
because we have two different dates. He started dating me.
Anyway, no, that's not the question. It wasn't. So we started seriously dating in 2012, and then we got married in August of 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
We both knew that it wasn't going to be a long courtship, right? I think when you kind of know what you want, then there's no settling or going back or anything like that. I think. And then God blessed me with the opportunity to be covered by a really great church in Columbia, with Bishop Robert, and he was amazing, absolutely amazing. And so he taught this class, before you say I do. And on the first, and Jared were like, okay, we want to take this class. We know that, this is probably going to lead to that. So let's just take this. It was like a premarital, right? And so him and his wife are phenomenal teachers. And the first day they were like, our job is to break y'all up. And we were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like our job is to, and then we were still long distance, right? So at that point I was in Baltimore. He was still in Houston. And so he's taking this class virtually. Like I'm in person, he's taking it virtually. And so his reason behind that, he was like, we need to expose and talk about all of this stuff. So our goal is to break y'all up. He didn't break us up, but he definitely delayed some things.
Right. Yeah, that's good though.
Yeah, after the first class, we was like, ooh, we might need to go back to being Facebook friends for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
no, like we was for real.
We were for real. Like, you know what? We're gonna bring this back a little bit because
like when you in that, that the puppy love, you not thinking logically. You're not just, this person is the best thing since sliced bread.
And my mother has always said, what does love got to do with it? Like she has, I mean, since I was a little girl and I was like purity with purpose and all that stuff. And she would always say, Camille, at the end of the day, what does love have to do with it? And I didn't understand it until then. It's not love that's going to get you through. I'm sorry. Hallmark lied to us, right? Love is all you need. Like,
it's gonna run out.
That is going to be depleted quickly. Because he's going to walk over the same pair of socks and not pick it up.
Oh,
he's I didn't say you. I didn't say you.
It's okay.
I said he. I was talking about generalities. I was just talking about, he's going to walk over. He's going to forget something. You're going to sleep with the TV on all the time. And he has to, like, there's going to be, what does love got to do with it? And I think taking that class put those things in perspective and had us prioritize, right? I think it just had us reprioritize what was important to us in the relationship. Right?
Yeah.
You look good, I look good. Right? So you're going through that, and then you go through the, he's got a good head on his shoulders. She's got great values.
You're looking at the qualities.
You're looking through that stuff, but then you kind of have to dig a tad bit. You know, let's talk about your mama. Let's talk about your mama. Let's talk about your dad. Let's talk about your, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting into stuff, and it's like, ooh, I was ready for that. It did. It put the brakes into lane, you know, because we thought we was going to be in and out. Like, people get this credit, and then, you know, but then it was, well, let's go ahead and pause. So,
it was. I'm so glad that we went through it, because it definitely led to a lot of much needed conversations.
And it reminds me too, Camille, of the statement that love is blind, right? Because when you're blinded by love, you don't always see sometimes what's right in front of you. That's a red flag. And so you do need to slow down and kind of, you know, get to know each other a little bit more before you take this huge step. You know what I mean? So speaking of the huge step, you guys do get engaged, and Jared and I were there. My Jared and I were there. And it was actually quite hilarious how we just kind of popped out and said, hey. It was so hilarious and random. But talk about your proposal, both of you. Just talk about your perspectives about that day.
Oh God. How long is this podcast?
She's still in Baltimore, and she's always been super focused. I got to go here. I got to have a schedule. I got to have a calendar. Like everything has to have a plan. Still like that. And so this was like one of the most busiest weekends that she had going on
in life.
My
God.
And so I had an accomplice, a mutual friend. It also was in National Society of Minorities in Hospitality, and she lived in DC. Yeah, in DC. So what in essence, I put her, I sent Camille on a scavenger hunt, and I had flown in and planted like envelopes at different locations with things that she would instantly know, okay, this is Jared. So like I had saved the stub from like the first movie we went to, and I had it inside of an envelope, and it was at a movie theater. So she had to stop, get out. So the friend picked her up and was like, hey, just jump in. Like, we got to roll, you know, we had a quick fight after work kind of thing. But it was really to go and take Camille around on the area. So there was like a community college that was all, and of course, now I planned all this from Houston, like just online and everything. Just things that were close in the vicinity of her job. So the college that was close, since we met in college, like I had printed out the first email and everything, stuff inside the envelope. So she would jump out and get it, and then the last place was at a hotel. And she was like, you gotta put a blindfold on.
I walked into the room, and it was dim lit. But before I even go there, just very quick, I actually tried to cancel on her twice. Like, he's being very. We were both serving in church. That Sunday was the Sunday that we sang all three services. So then there was a Christmas party that I had committed to, and when I commit, that's it. There's like no. I have to be on my deathbed. I had cooked like meals for this party. Then my job was having a manager's party at our GM's house the very next day. So it was, when you say like packed, like there was, and then the day was already running late, running long. So I tried to cancel twice. Like, hey, this is not going to work. Like I can't do this. And she was like, no, I'm already downstairs. Just run across the street to this bar, and we'll grab some appetizers. They had like half off appetizers. It's really great, bar in Harbor East, and it was at walking distance. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna run down, grab some appetizers for her, and then I'm running back up to the office because I still got so much work to do before I head out. Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
The level of agitation in my soul for joy, because it was not clicking for me. Like it really wasn't. And I think after the third or fourth stop, I stopped fighting. I was like, I'm going to play along at this point. Because at this point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be late. And I'm probably not even going to make it to the party. And I have choir practice tomorrow. And these people are going to look at me in my face. And I don't know what to tell them. So so it was stressful. It was extremely stressful. But I walked in. The lights were down. Beautiful roses. My goofy brother pops up like, hey, what's up? You know how Jared is. And so really goofy. And you kind of just peep out behind like, yeah.
So was it clicking? Was it starting to click yet?
It clicked. At that point, it did click. And then he has Coming to America, which is one of our top 5 favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got Coming to America. Well, it's not Coming to America. It's actually Jackie with To Be Loved. And so that's playing. And at that point, I knew what it was. And then, like, he gets on his knee and opens up this ring. And there's a light in the box. And then it's, like, shining perfectly on this big old ring. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm a hot mess. Yeah. And then, of course, I say I do. I say yes. And then we eat the Cheesecake Factory.
Yes, we did. That's right.
Cheesecake Factory because I was starving. Because by the time I got off work, and then this 4-hour goose chase around the city of Baltimore, and it had started to rain at some point. I was just, okay.
Yeah. Wow, I love it. I love it. So, how long were y'all engaged before getting married?
Was that the end of 2013?
Yeah, we didn't want no long engagement. So we got engaged December 6th, 2013. And then we got married August 29th, 2014.
That's right. That's right. So y'all had the wedding in Texas, right?
Yes.
So just talk a little bit about your wedding day and your honeymoon. Talk about those 2 great days in your life, or great moments in your lives.
Great.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, when I woke up, I felt different emotionally. But then I was like, okay, it'll wear off. So I ran around with my groomsmen. Like I went and got a haircut, and I went and got my what is it called, cuticles trim. I went and got my hands. She asked me to get my hands manicured. That's what it is. Because there's been a lot of pictures.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to see.
I don't want to see no hangnail.
I don't want to see no ashy knuckles on my pictures. I just need you to take care of that. Like, taking pictures of our hands.
Yeah. So so it's hot that day. We take pictures. We get dressed, take pictures. I thought I was gonna sweat everything out, but when we actually got to the venue, that's when I started getting nervous. Am I really about to do this?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a different kind of feeling. Like I wasn't sad. I wasn't anxious. It was just like, wow, this is just a different. I had never felt it before.
Yeah.
And then it went away, and the ceremony starts, and I'm good, but I'm like, all right, cool. It's subsided and everything, and then our flower girl got frightened to come down. Mm-hmm. So my cousin, her dad, brought her in, and the doors closed, and she takes at least 2 minutes out there. It felt like 2 minutes. Like it was a very long time. The doors are closed. Everybody looking at me. I'm like,
it's because I'm trying to be very careful and
okay,
because this is going out to the WWW, right?
Yes.
So, right. Because there were at least 12 people that decided to show up to the wedding late and thought that we was going to open them doors and let them go take their seats. You gotta know is on the back end, as I literally am about to walk in. I counted, there was at least 12 people that were sitting in the lobby, were watching me as I was about to walk out into the wedding. So it was a coordinator that was trying to like stop them, like, no, we started the wedding. And again, point, everybody, parents have gone down the aisle, grandparents have gone down the aisle. I mean, you know, so that's why it took so long. It wasn't cold feet or anything like that. Yeah, my brothers were out there, and of course, Jared and Adam being goofy, trying to make me laugh.
Right.
It's stressful because you expect people to be on time at weddings, but you know, but yeah, so that's why it took so long. So you know, the weddings are our marriage, their wedding. That's how I like to describe it. I hate to say that out loud, but unless you go on a destination with 10 people, like, it literally is for everybody else. I mean, you know, I think my brother Jared is the only person in this universe that I believe his wedding is for him. I don't even know what it was for you, Daniel. I think it was for.
Yeah, my boy was happy that day.
I think this wedding was for Jared Perry. Okay.
Anyway, so the doors finally
You're
opened.
laughing because you know.
No, it was for both of us. But y'all know Jared. Y'all know him.
I'm trying to save you, bro.
He's trying to save him.
It was their wedding, our marriage. And that, you know, and it was, and did we all have a good time? Absolutely. But I think, you know, I had a dream about my wedding before Jared and I even met. And it was a very detailed dream. I was anxious, nervous. And at the rehearsal, I saw him and we hugged. And there was just this peace that completely fell on me. And I don't know if I even told him until maybe like a year after. But it was just this peace. And I will always remember this dream. Fast forward the night before the wedding. Of course, we hadn't seen each other because I'm running around with my bridesmaids. He's running around with his grooming. And we're about to start the rehearsal. And we see each other and we hugged. And it was literally this peace. And it was my dream being actualized. Like, it was literally what happened. And so I think from that moment, I was good. I was like, y'all can have this wedding. I know what I'm doing. We're supposed to be doing. So
that's good. I love that.
Yeah. So
I love that.
She comes in. I'm not at first. I was sobbing, and then I started to weep. Like, man, I can't. Like, I couldn't stop. Like, me and cry right here in your throat. But then it's like, okay, let me shake it off. But it was just.
It was uncontrollable.
Yeah, I was like, ah.
So what was it for you? Was it just like,
it was, oh my God, it was the appearance. It was seeing my wife in her dress. It was the moment. It was like, wow. Like, it was like a literal like gift because she had her veil on and she was just looking like it was our wedding, but I felt like it was just her and I in that moment. So man, it was it was just super. And I'm not, cry kind of guy. I don't cry that often, but that was just probably the best. One of the best feelings,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, we went to a honeymoon, and this is for anybody who's getting married. Please do not do an itinerary for your wedding, for your honeymoon. Just don't do it. Like, there's going to be, like, if you're on a cruise and you know that you've got to schedule and do certain things, but if you like go to a resort, like we went to Hawaii and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bungee jump in this volcano. I'm going to go rock climbing. I'm going to take this helicopter. Like, I literally had, and then I'm going to be up in the sunset. I got to be up in cloud. when we got to that resort,
You were tired.
no, the resort was gorgeous, and there wasn't anything to do but lay out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the food, and it just kept coming.
Mm-hmm.
And we would play Uno or go and shoot pool. Yeah, like it was just relaxing. Like it was extremely relaxing. So yeah.
How can I say this?
Nice just prayer for Maui. Still praying for Maui.
Yeah.
But it was awkward. It was like, for me, it was very awkward because, you know,
that's a good word.
Like, okay, so now we could like be in the same room.
Yeah. It was like we now like, what did we just do? Like, what just happened? Like
now it's okay to like do things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this, I don't know. Yeah. It was like, it was like we're really married. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It took a long time to set in, and but I mean, we had a great time though.
Yeah. That's great. So you're married, and you guys are both in. Where did y'all live in Texas initially when you first got married?
She was in Austin.
Oh God, how could I forget that? No, it was longer than that.
Yeah.
So after we got married, I still lived in Austin. My job was still in Austin, and his was in Houston. So we lived separate for 5 months, 6 months or so.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. And then I finally was like, you know what? I can't do this. I didn't get married to live in 2 different cities and commute an hour and a half on the weekends.
Right.
Like, because of the way his job was set up, the way my job was set up, there was no remote working. There was no, you had to be there. So I would back and forth on the weekend.
All right. So y'all are in Houston, and at some point, Camille, you get pregnant.
Yeah.
You get pregnant.
Exactly.
Say that again?
Almost a year exactly.
Oh, okay. Almost a year. Almost a year. Wow. So you get pregnant with twin boys. I remember when you called Jared and I, because we weren't able to make it, I think, to Texas because y'all had the family.
Right. That's right.
So,
I think.
Yeah, it was late. Yeah. So y'all called us and you told us that you weren't only pregnant, but that you were pregnant with twins. And I thought you were playing. I don't know why. I just thought you were playing.
I thought
you were like, yeah, I'm having twins. So it was definitely a mind-blowing moment. So talk about just, how you guys were when you found out, and was it planned? Were y'all expecting children?
I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Very, very Cliff Notes version.
For the record, while we were in Maui, without any knowledge, I was like, we're gonna have twins.
No, he said it right. I'm trying
to clean it up.
I'm gonna give you twins. And I was like, oh, if we have twins, I'm done. It's a wrap. That's I'm out. Like completely. The interesting thing though, and I'll keep it very short. So we were in the process of buying a house. Kids were not on, it wasn't like we were planning or trying to get pregnant. I'll say it that way. And so we had just like put earnings down on the house. We were like breaking ground. We like were showing up the house, taking pictures of like the foundation, and like, we're in the middle of buying a house, our first house, like, and it was a ground up build. It was beautiful, like, and then we found out that we were pregnant, and so I found out when I was actually on a work trip in El Paso, Texas. And I called a girlfriend and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, she was like, oh, so she walks through it, but the twins were a surprise, and my grandmother was still alive at the time, and I called her and I was like, what did you do to me? who in the family is pregnant? Who's got twins? Does this run in the family? What is this? He was like, well, my sister, she had twins, and then daughter, and then she'd go through the lineage, and
wow.
That's ask those questions, y'all. Ask those questions. Ask those questions.
At that point, I didn't know that.
So it runs in the family. So, how did I know? And then, of course, they give you the statistics. When you're a certain age, and then minorities, yada yada yada. Blah blah blah. So, so yeah, we found out that we were pregnant with twins. We always advise anybody who will listen, or at least will heed the advice. Enjoy being married before you have kids.
Yes.
And the reason why we say that is because you have to think about your phases of life, right? So you have to look at, okay, there's Camille girlfriend, there's Camille fiance, there's Camille wife. Learning how to be a wife is so extremely important and pivotal. And I think, when you're a year into your marriage, you still kind of on your honeymoon. Like, you ain't even really been to 2 Christmases. You know what I mean? I mean, Jared and our first biggest fight was during the holidays. We couldn't agree on Christmas music.
We ain't gonna talk about that tonight, Jared. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Please,
we couldn't agree on Christmas music.
Please.
I'm Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and he's Temptation.
Jackson 5.
Like, I need to watch
I've been there, Jared. I've been there.
He talking about Friday after next.
That's right. Thank you.
He talking about Friday after next. I'm like, that is not a Christmas movie. He talking about Die Hard, and I'm talking about Home Alone, and
White Christmas, and
So, but learning to be a wife, right? Because the moment that you become a mom, in particular, it's like a switch, and there's just something that happens innately. God created us for that, right? So there's something just innately happens, and I'm not going to say that you stop paying attention to being a wife, but the amount of energy and time when you are raising a baby or going through that pregnancy, and then you go through nursing, and then you're trying to keep this human being alive. Like, it's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
But making sure that you and your husband have that firm foundation of his role, what your role is, what does that look like when it's blended together and operating together in one accord.
And that we did not have that.
It was a very short time. Like, we were still on our honeymoon, right? We were still, like, oh, you know what I mean? Right. And then when you have kids, then you really start to learn things about the other person.
About the other person.
Coming out, about how you were raised and how she was raised. And, so we just say, take your time in having kids. We don't discourage people from having kids. We think we know we're supposed to have kids. But timing is everything, and learning how to love each other, learning the expectations, right? Talking about those expectations with each other is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, yeah, because y'all had not just one, y'all had 2 at the same time.
At the same time.
So so y'all had the twins, Joshua and Daniel, and y'all are trying to settle now in Houston, right, with your new home. But there's a lot going on. So just talk about those first few years before Matthew comes into the picture, your third son. Talk about those first few years in Houston and just how that was as far as adjusting now.
It was a rough ride. It was a rough ride because, it was almost in the same season becoming a husband and a father, and trying to figure out, okay, have we set our culture for a family? What's going to be important to us? How are we going to split time between families? How are we going to decide, who goes when?
Oh, God. Yeah.
So,
and he's reading heavy books. Like, he's not reading like, he's not reading like How to Be a Dad 101 or, Being a Dad for Dummies. Like, he's not reading like Dr. Miles Monroe, Kingdom Principles of Fatherhood. Like, who, like, you know what I mean? Like,
so now I'm already feeling like I'm behind the 8 ball.
Right.
I'll never forget that. It was just watching Jared, like, oh my God. Like, when you come into, especially for a man, right? When you come into the knowledge of what it actually means to be not only a kingdom citizen, but what that role is as a father, you could just watch Jared and this heaviness come. Because now you're feeling the responsibility of, not a game. Like, I'm responsible for not just my family's lives, but now you're looking at this as a nation, right? You're your own Abraham in the family, right? So the nations that are going to come from these 3 boys, you know what I mean? Like, it complete. So watching Jared go through that, it was like, oh God. Okay.
So and then in addition to having 2 infants,
boys,
two boys,
and
at that time, our parents they would come down, but then as time went on, it just kind of became further apart. So it was really just us and our community there in Houston. Everybody was in the same boat.
Everybody was married, yeah. So y'all get y'all a village. You gotta have a village, man.
And then in addition to that, I didn't have any type of outlet. So it was work and it was home. And
both of our jobs are still insanely busy. Like, I'm still traveling while I'm nursing. So I'm having to hide in bathroom stalls and pump and put milk in ice and it was rough. Like, those first couple of years, because of my career and then being a first time mom with 2 at the same time, then the daycare costs a whole nother mortgage.
That's a mortgage. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And you can feel very alone if you don't have your sister circle, as Jared calls it. Like, if I didn't have my sister circle, like, it would have been 30 times worse.
Yeah.
People, again, that were going to be there to encourage you, to call you out on your stuff, that,
And that's another reason why it's so important to that foundation of marriage has to be there and solidified, because in that moment we were so focused on kids, we were just parents all the time. We're not putting the same amount of energy because there's not a lot of energy left.
Yeah.
Be, okay, husband and wife, but we're always in go mode. But because now you're at work all day, now you're trying to come home and get as much time with kids and clean up or cook, and
it was rough.
10 o'clock. Because
he actually wanted to be a father, which is also huge, right? Like, he wasn't just I'm gonna let her change the diapers. Like,
right. He was involved.
He was involved, and it was killing him that by the time he got home from work, I'm nursing and these kids is ready to go down for bed. And he's like, I didn't get to hug any of them. I didn't get to, So it was an adjustment. It was definitely very rough, but we, during that time also, I think it also made it a lot more tougher because we were in transition with our church. So we were in the process of trying to find a church.
We're parents now.
We're parents. And so trying to find a church that had a very strong marriage ministry, a strong men's ministry. For me, it was all about the praise and worship. Like, if that praise and worship ain't where it needs to be.
Anyway.
Jared, it's true. He will tell you.
Not another argument about music.
I mean, because but in marriage, you got to talk about those non-negotiables, right? Doctrine. If that doctrine ain't where it needs to be, I'm not there. I'm not in there. Right? I'm like, if that praise and worship ain't where it needs to be, get it. I can't get into it. And so it was very hard to find a church that taught the kingdom in its original state, like what it meant. What does it mean today in 2020? Whatever, like it. So that was tough, not having that covering. And so, even we joke and say, I got pregnant with twins when he came back from his first Kingdom conference.
Yeah. I went to Dr. Monroe's conference the year after he passed, and the theme was legacy. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow, I wonder what type of legacy that I'm going to be able to leave or create or work on with producing myself, but also with Camille. Yeah. And then, voila.
Yeah.
So and we both decided, like, he's got to go. Like, you got to go to this conference. And so he met two amazing individuals. There's Martin and Linnell Williams, and hi, Mom and Dad, if they ever see this. But they are phenomenal individuals. And, quick story, because this is a game changer for us. So, Jared knows people literally all over the world. And so one of his old roommates is from the Bahamas. And so he's leaving the hotel. They're coming back in. And Dr. Martin, in his fatherly kind of way, says what?
So he checked me. This was like the last night of the conference. This is Saturday night or something like that. And went to hang out with Drew. So I'm passing my, hey, how y'all doing? And it's like 9:30 at night. So I'm leaving. Camille's not at the conference. So I'm there by myself. And so he's like, where you going? What you doing? It's 9:30. Now, I've only heard the man speak. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really know type of interaction. Like, yeah, I've been watching you. Yeah, I saw you at the conference. Your wife know where you at? I said,
complete drill.
Yes, sir. I just got on the phone with her. I was going to get a bite with my buddy. College. You know what time it is? Wife, I mean, it was like just.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, of course, we talked that night, and he tells me about this pastor, Dr. Martin. So, of course, I, being the investigator by nature, by trade, I'm Googling you. I'm fixing you up, like, who are you and who gives you the right? And the first couple of messages that I heard, I was like, where have you been my entire life? So, I mean, it got to a point to where Jared would be up in the mornings watching the Word Network because he would be on there. I mean, we've been following this man pretty much since we got married. Just his we couldn't be there in person, but we would be there for on Wednesday nights online or watching on Sundays or, and then we started to give some offerings. And then offerings turned into, we're tithing to this place now. Like, it was just this natural, organic, and just to see how much Jared was studying more and the messages were Rhema. I mean, it was alive. It was active. It was like, why business? Like, it was what was missing. It was definitely what was missing.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I did go to the conference in Nassau was because, I was really coming into the understanding of what the kingdom of God is and what the gospel of the kingdom is. And I was hungry for it, but I wanted to see it. I wanted to know that it was something real. Like, how does a man, how does it look in a woman, how does it look husband and wife, father, mother, and children? Like, how does this look? When I met the Williams, that's when I was like, I think I see it. There's something distinct. And of course, Dr. Martin and Pastor Neil spent a lot of time with Dr. Ruth and Dr. Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe. But there was something that was genuine. It was, hey, you know what? If you want to if you want to learn how to build your life, you know, we've done it. We're happy to show you. We're going to walk through it with you. And that was the first time that I probably had ever heard of Omaha, Nebraska. I'm like, it can't be no black folk out there. It just, yeah, that was my first. I'm like, man, Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I think all the you know, and then of course, then we started to invest, right? So then we started to do conferences, you know, Kingdom University and Shake the Nations, and after a while, it just got to a point like, this is important. Matthew gets here. We're still looking for a church. And the pandemic happens, right? So my baby's first birthday, second birthday is during the pandemic. So we're still online. You know, that was our tradition. Like, you know, we weren't going to go visit churches. Like I hate to say it, I couldn't suffer through another praise and worship. I couldn't so we committed to watching online. And so our kids, we would do praise and worship. Like we weren't, you know, we were seriously committed to the vision, the house, first fruit. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right? So, you know, Matthew's here and we're going to Shake the Nations and, you know, like planning out our calendars year in advance so that we could have like proper coverage for babysitters and all that stuff, just so that we could be in the house. So, yeah, that's kind of the.
So Matthew is born. What were the ages of Josh and Daniel when Matthew was born?
They had just turned.
They're 2 years apart.
They're 2 years apart.
Yeah. So when Matthew was born,
they had just turned 2.
Yeah.
They had just turned 2. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So now we got 2 toddlers and an infant.
Yeah.
3 in diapers. Trying to figure this whole thing out of what marriage looks like.
Girl didn't get the girl. That was the whole purpose, right? If it was a boy and a girl twin, we probably would have been done. Like 95% sure. If it was a girl, we would have been done. But it was twin boys. We're like, you know what? Let's try to see if this. And then it was Matthew. So then everybody was like, oh, you gonna try for that girl? Negative.
Done.
Obviously, somebody is completely incapable of giving me a girl. So at this point, I'm good. Now I don't know what I would do with a girl. You know, some of my dearest girlfriends have girls, and it's very hard to shop for them because I don't know what girls play with. So I'm like, does she want a dinosaur or a purple dinosaur?
Right.
But, you know, Matthew. We named him Matthew, gift from God, because during that part of our marriage and our life was very rough. And then Matthew gets here, and we're like, you know what? This is a gift. This is still a gift. Our marriage is a gift. And so the more that we kind of begin to declare differently, the outlook started to change. We started to look at each other differently. We started to pray differently. We started to parent differently. We started to love differently. And I think a lot of that has to do with the church that you're connected to.
You said something right there. That's loaded. So you guys are really tuning in and really locking into this church that's in Omaha. However, clearly you guys are in Houston. So how long now are you in Houston now that Matthew's born?
It was.
You mean when we finally moved, or?
Well, when you guys had Matthew, how long were you guys in Houston at that point? Like when
at that point, Matthew, 3 years, 2 years, 2 or 3 years. Because remember, we it was pretty much, you know,
How many were married?
yeah, married probably 4. Probably
Okay.
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember, Camille, you said something about God speaking to you that you guys wouldn't be in your home very long. I think it was the second home that y'all bought in Texas.
Yeah.
So talk about that, and what were you thinking when you heard that?
So we bought a house in the pandemic, which was insane because people weren't buying houses in the pandemic. You know what I mean? Like 2020
Mm-hmm.
hit, and I felt like this really push, like, you need to buy a house now. Like, we need to, and it's only happened. What happened with the first house? Like, we need to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
the second house, the timing of everything, I was like, God, we got to get on this. And so we prayed about the house that we wanted, the school district that we wanted, the location. And I remember once we bought the house and I'm standing in the empty dining room. And literally, as clear as day, the Holy Spirit was like, don't get comfortable. You're not going to be in this house long.
Mm.
And I'm frustrated at this point because I'm like, I love this house. Like, the layout is perfect. When boys got a media room, they got this backyard. Like, it's in a great family neighborhood, very diverse. Like, I'm going, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, you know what? Okay, fine, that's whatever. I mean, that's how I talk. Like, okay, and I kept it moving. You know what I mean? Like, but there was this: don't get comfortable in this house because you're not gonna be here long.
Yeah. And at that time, we had been both feeling transition.
Okay.
But it was like, okay, maybe it's not another house. Like, it's something greater than another house. It's something more meaningful than another house. Like what is it that we're sensing? So we were thinking, okay, maybe it's up in the Dallas Fort Worth area because that's where
So we had started even looking at houses.
We started looking at houses. We started looking at.
I don't think we our parents. Sorry.
We was thinking about it, but everything, like, it just fell through. And
it was like the job thing, and then it was like, and then we were like, you know what, we want to live close to the family, and we want our kids to grow around uncles and aunties, and nothing was really kind of clicking. It wasn't really happening. And so, like I said, we'd always moved for a job and had never moved for a church. And
say that again. I couldn't hear you. Always moved for a job, but never moved for
a church. We've never moved for a church. And just the more that we study and understand the importance of the church, our demographic, our age group has left the church in droves, like, with no signs of them returning. Churches are still trying to get their numbers back to what they were pre-pandemic. And a lot of people like to blame the pandemic. The pandemic didn't do that. It just highlighted it. But people were leaving the church way before the pandemic.
That's right.
And it matters where you go to church. It matters where you get fed. It matters that you go to church. There's a reason why it says do not forsake these. There's a reason why.
That's right.
You just have to find that out on your own. And the sooner that you accept that the Word of God is infallible, you're going to find out on your own why that statement is true. And I think for us, we started to realize, because it matters where you go, it matters where your house is, meaning your church. We took the leap of faith.
Yeah, we were here in transition, and so we were at this point talking back and forth about, like, what the next move needs to be. We just need to, like, stop talking about this, stay in Houston, and we were at the anniversary, their 6th year anniversary. Yeah, 6th year church anniversary. We taught a powerful message, but it was just in that time, like, kind of right after the message, like, just reflection and prayer. And she, like, I heard, it was like a whisper. say something? I was like, did you hear that? And she was like, yeah, what you hear? I was like, what you hear? You know, we supposed to be praying, but we hear whispering and talking. It wasn't, I think in that moment, because we were on the same page, heard the same thing at the same time.
And when I walked through those doors, I looked through and like my first conference, I never went looking for a perfect church. Get that out of your head. There is no
perfect church.
No perfect church. But we're part of the church. And when Jared and I literally had to write down our list of what we were looking for in the church. For me, praise and worship. For him, it was doctrine. We needed a strong children's ministry. We needed a strong marriage ministry. It has to be diverse. I don't want to go to an all-white church. I don't want to go to an all-black church, because that's not what heaven's going to look like. So we had this list. I walked through the doors, and it was like, check, 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 check. And I looked at yours like, and I won't forget it. I looked at him, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm looking for. Like, I will walk away from everything. This church.
Didn't stop there. Like, she just kept saying, I'm like, in session.
I was literally in session. So I was like, so then I take it a couple of notches, and then I start researching what does real estate look like out there. So that any question that he has, I'm ready.
So at this point, was this 2021, 2022? What year?
2020 was a big year for us because that was the year that we decided to tithe to a church. We believers in tithes. I don't care about. We're not gonna get into that today.
Concept. So
we're not. So we tithe to AWC in 2020, and that's when it became real.
That's where we were getting fed.
That's where we're getting fed. That's where our kids were getting fed. That's
right.
And we only felt like that was right. And I just, again, guys, please give offerings. Like, if you're following a ministry that you love and they're feeding you,
so
come on, man.
Yep.
It's seed.
That's right.
You understand the concept of seed. One seed reaps a harvest, and all you're doing is planting seed. And if your harvest isn't meeting your need, you gotta check that seed. And I think that for us, when we made that decision, that conscious decision to start tithing, to start sowing, it was a game changer from there. And they had a virtual conference, that we attended. And then we ended up going to the conference in person. So you're talking about again, we had been following them since 2014. 2020, we decided to financially be invested. 2021, we started to invest in traveling to actually go to conferences and all that. And
so we did our homework. I had listened to teaching, the teaching, not just Pastor Martin, but the vision of the church. And so the people that we had connected with that are not in the Williams family, and seeing how the success that they've had in their lives, just the generational blessing and obedience to a house. At that point, it's intimate, right?
Yeah.
We move for relationships, we move for jobs, we move for things that.
But the thing that matters the most, right? The thing that
if I'm to move for anything, it's got to be something that's for sure.
That's right.
It was never a go back and forth like, do this. But it was
timing. If
It was
anything,
timing.
it was just about timing, and God's timing is always right, because
Mhm.
the second house, right? God provided us an opportunity to get. I mean, you talking about interest rates being where they were in 2020.
Oh, it was a steal.
It was like a steal of a property.
Mhm.
And we made money once we sold it. And had we not listened and moved when we were supposed to, we wouldn't have made any money off of that property. And so it just, you have to move. You want the Holy Spirit to move. There is no, and who are you to question?
Someone who was perfect.
You know,
who was perfect.
He was perfect. Who are you to question? Like, are you sure about that? Like,
Right.
really, how do you fix your mouth, right? So it was like, okay, God, like, we're trusting you. Like,
Yeah.
because we got 3 kids. This ain't just
Yep.
us. If this was Jared and I, we'd be able to rough it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We got kids. We got, college that we're trying to get paid for. And
That's right.
so yeah, we're talking 2021 that, again, tithing, making that transition spiritually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, financially, and then committing to coming up there once a quarter to the church to actually physically be there.
So I remember, because God will give us something that we're due, right? We're to do. But that doesn't always mean it doesn't come without challenges. Especially if the enemy starts to take note, like, this is looking too good. Like, I need to throw some fiery darts their way to try to make them think that maybe this wasn't God, So were there any moments like that? And what kind of challenges did you guys face preparing to move? Wow. Well, that was part 1 of episode 29, titled Having the Right Church Matters in Marriage, featuring Jared and Camille Garner. I want you to be sure to come back next Thursday, September 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to see the second part of this episode. Trust me, you will not want to miss it. In the meantime, y'all, I want you to also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit like on this episode and be sure to share it with others that they may be blessed and encouraged. Also, leave a comment in the comment section just letting us know something that stood out from this episode today. Until next time, enjoy your day and be blessed.